Please tell us your name.
Lhasa and
Lobsang Thardho.
His Holiness the Dalai Lama asked us to record your experiences so that we can share your memories with many generations of Tibetans, the Chinese, and the rest of the world. Your memories will help us to document the true history, culture, and beliefs of the Tibetan people. Do you give your permission for the Tibet Oral History Project to use this interview?
Thangi murasu manashire kunzugi de lega de chie de tewa gyarm chegi kana resra ani ngazo phemi gemba donzo gi lokyu den sangma de nya che ani jama mao balia ta phemi de je chidre ani gyam ta gyam che ya khana zamling khura mi de zo ha go ya chu de phena lokyu khari chungbe me de ha go ya kunzo lega de chegu yes ani pala gi thanda de khuna ji kandi shwe da pala gi lokyu den zo ani jama kunzo gi pheju chu chu na pheju chie gi chogjen yes yes I give my permission.
During this interview, if you wish to take a break or stop at any time, please let me know. If you do not wish to answer a question or talk about something, let me know.
Ani yang kisi kunangi tiwa jiku che pala yang di ko le lengya de me wada di ko le keji de me we na ya tingazo lana di res.
If this interview was shown in Tibet or China, would this be a problem for you?
Kisi di thari pala yi kandi shuye di phyo nang da di temu jorwa thanda phyo nang da kyanal temba ina pala la kange den ke chungru wes.
Ta kange ge thame karasin pala ni dikap da kane keminjonga na ne ten shanjore. Amala nge jakal ten shu.
Alelese.
Amala ten shu. Losum shu ani shas.
Alelese. I will not face any problems because my dad has already passed away, and I brought my mom to India, but she passed away 3 years after she came to India.
We are honored to record your story and appreciate your participation in this project.
Manzo pala gi thumdi thari khoel pe gabuchung sonsra ani pala manzo gi di lega nalia nyamju chiwa dile manzo thoche nas.
Thoche na ta kenan ju manzo dendal bebe dendal ya chale digisna be. I want to
thank you for all the work that you have done and for all the hard work that you have put in for the Tibetan cause.
Lobsang Thardho, can you please tell me where you were born and when you were born, what year?
Tangudi pala ani khawale ke me da ani khadu ke me loading on the
I was
born in 1935. 15th of the 9th month. Of the 4th month. Oh, in the month of Sakadawa, the holy month.
And where were you born?
Lhasa Banashol. Minbuk
I was born in Lhasa.
Banashol.
In Minbuk.
Is that near the center of Lhasa or a ways out?
The Minbuk is the Lhasa ki ta kanyelo yore tha ring sa.
Lingor nali.
Oh, it is inside the Lingor.
Inside the Lingor.
Yes.
Thank you. And what kind of work did your parents do?
Puna la pala gi thanda pala da amla an chale karnang wores.
Ye pala di dirisha. Nyele ya se namje tasang tuni che. Tene di chele ya ani thanda mindu businge de ya Dechen ya di yore pashi yore ba. Pashi sina singa da kamba. Saja je di je tene Dechen ya pe Dechen pe ne Dechen zong le jun che je. Shubre.
My father was an accountant at Gaden Monastery, and after that they went to Dechen because they have land over there, and so he worked in Dechen.
Where is Dechen?
Dechen is in Kawairis.
Kilometer. Oh,
it's about 15 kilometers from Lhasa.
I see. And he worked on the land as a farmer?
Shingber. Lhasa Lhasa nala nganzuli shinga manga mayo. Shinga chip shingbari nganzuli Lhasa. Zoda, ta dibbe samba ta yugo da tsangma yor Lhasa.
We were farmers. Actually, at the time, we were the biggest farmers in Lhasa. We had land and we had animals as well.
And you were the biggest farmers in Lhasa. How many generations had your family owned land in Lhasa?
And Lhasa la tanda palagi mito khadze sud shinga yoresa.
Tak mito chori ta nye po de nga thong ma nyo. No ngadu de na le ya pu chu de pomo chu ge do wa. Dina ne pomo chung shi de bu nga ra ba.
I haven't seen my grandparents. My father's family, my father's parents had 6 boys, 6 girls, and
grandfather. No.
Yeah. And I am the youngest daughter's son.
The youngest daughter's son.
So I never got to meet my grandparents.
I see. It sounds like your family, for generations, was a very successful family and very affluent. Is that correct?
Tanda dinde sidu zamala da palagi nangmi da this kalore. Nangmi this yaga do che ani benjo thone this yaga do jin sare dinde mune the rest takta rest.
Benjo jeni chiragi ke jasimbu da kanda sashin jasimbu je zawe mizan yingba je mizan Lhasa Banashol nam Lhasa mizan yingba res mizan yingu je mizan yaga do chashag do.
We were one of the older families in the area, but I wouldn't say that we were well off, but we had a lot of land.
I see. And in your own family, how many children did your parents have?
Nanda pala inangwila, nanda pala da amla tu khazayores.
Nani puni?
Oh, we're 2 sons.
2 sons?
Yes.
And where were you in the lineup?
No.
Oh, pala gemba dire chungadres.
Chungadre.
I'm the younger one.
You were the younger one.
Oh, my elder brother passed away this year.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
I brought him to India last year for the Potala Chapter, and he had some eye problems, my brother, and so we got that fixed, and then he went back to Tibet and he passed away.
He died in Tibet?
Yes.
Was it easy for him to get into Tibet, and where did he go when he got there?
Ani pelpa tej thorwa. Ani khura ya chu gyagal chu tej ya pelpa the di khari chikale ro ke chungwe mara le labo chungwe ani pelpa khwal theres.
Dechen side.
Oh, he went back to Dechen Zone. The same place.
Really? Do you know what conditions were like there from him? Did you have any information?
Did you zama pyonalia nedang khande yobode kunangi ke sungsu asa balan.
Ke mixe ke sebus ke share mindu nyala. Digan mi khoran ke chora mesheng edire.
No, he didn't say a lot of things. And in general, he was not a person who talked a lot. So
I see. So, Palal, can you please tell us then what is your childhood like? What do you do with your days from the time maybe you're 3, 4, 5 to 8 years old?
Ani atapala ngima chunju gospel losum shies nerwa to this for the chunju gi da nyamnyu do de khande ku yeme ko langa zo te sungro chis
tangan lok peji nga to dine mendo nga nye tanda angle chi ti potala le yor yige se potala jawr mujik tanda di exam nye basikdo
nase
head color ke sor chi sha
lele
ko yige sure tela je je nga yige yigla ba sha ka ka ba
lele se when he was about 5 or 6 he was sent to live with his uncle who was working at the time as a head clerk in Potala, and so he was sent there to study with him.
At 5 or 6, you went to the Potala Palace? To the Potala Palace to study under an uncle?
With an uncle,
With an uncle who was an accountant?
Yes.
Is that not a very young age to send a child to learn accounting?
Pala to longas ruwa. And the longas ni dinde hige janga tangaya dinde this lot to do not a marwe, chunga marwes.
To do Kale Shudu. Konda Nimalal to do an amateur. And in ye take the Mutua. Mudu than the Potala Poo Mucho Minua. And Yogo Yorova. Yogo Jimba Joe.
Yours in the
Yogos in a Shepji. Shepji. Shepji in the Yorova. Shangu Shotus in Tashanjo, Tabu Guju. Dijing Vegan kill, Lhasa Ki, Lhasa Babu Tonganachi. Chiri and Amalasa Ki. Young Shoga music Jimbajo Yabotala Ki, didn't they?
He wasn't actually studying accounting, but it was the basic.
I wasn't.
Okay, I wasn't studying accounting. I was just there to learn the basic alphabets. But it was a very difficult time because at the end of the day I would be crying because I was missing my mother. And so one of the assistants would carry me on his shoulder, take me down to the marketplace and get me some candies and then take me home. And then the same thing would happen the next day.
Were you able to go home every night after studying?
Oh,
yes.
didn't be parent the table jury.
No.
Table Diganama dus tena, Yanane, Domo, Juja Tungus.
Oh,
Yes, that's a Potala and the Samatungua.
No.
Domo, Juja Tundu, and the Tani, and amateur.
So when I was in Potala during the day and if I was sitting out in the veranda, there was a table over there and I would stand up on the table and I could see my house, the fire from the chimney, and that would make me miss my home all the more. And it was very difficult because in the Potala Palace, it was not allowed for children to cry, so it was a difficult time for me.
Yes, very difficult. How long did you stay getting your lessons in the Potala Palace? How many years?
Potala tanda tu so pala lovun chiji lo hazu shubas. I think I was there for about 2-3 years.
2 or 3 years.
Yes.
Can you describe any memories you have of the Potala Palace? Were there many people around? Was it a very quiet place or very exciting or a happy place? Can you talk about that?
Did sambal Potalalia Kades Palagin and Nudo Kandir Kusim do Yorwe ya Potalalia Mimangu Yorwe Kande Yor did you palace on Nudo those shares?
Kusimbu Yore, in that digital. Como Shushuringa, como Legum Habibutor, Mani Eagle of Jet, not a near Ropapuji, Mani Eagle of Jet, como Legum Terror. I need to the top of the like of Jackal Yata, Tasmabo, Yaza, Mapo, and it's much that they did.
In the Pala out the It was very quiet. When my uncle was there, then we used to be quiet and studying. But as soon as he left for office, then me and there was another friend of mine with me, so the two of us would run up and down the steps and make a lot of noise.
Shoga Kongo Shandoji Nangro Shoga. Shandu to Troop Sardaga and to Chacha this Nangri. And the Manipuni the dogs. Chinjane Poga near Roboka Jangare Doenjaguti. Samo Jangarda Dior Tumulunga Signora. Or DJ Pog Jangara dish, Tumulunga Dangja. One bed Doenjagore. Uncle Mokran in one dang. Dang such a many church, Sagajan, dang, these are trips are the young Chigal has a Shavasi, Shavar, Shamasi, the Lhasa Shamasi, young Shet near. Near Lhasa Shama to watch a Poga, near Roboko, the Shava Shama to watch. Young ship. Six again, Como now give the Pernal, then I'm not cash it. I shall add. And the disum the Kundili Kusho, one of that Nibitasar, the lesser so the Mindubu, the Jai in Sumundue. What did it? Namda Shivaji Kasora Kuran, camera Shivaji away.
We used to have a lot of fun in the morning. In the mornings, my uncle would say his prayers, and once he was done, he would clap his hands 3 times, and then me and my friend would enter the room, and we would have to do all this opera dances. And my uncle was one of the best opera dancers in the country at the time, and so he would play the music, and then me and my friend, we would dance and sing for him.
Right.
We couldn't be very loud, though. We had to be quiet about it.
But your uncle was also there to teach you accounting, but he had a second love, and that was the opera?
So Ashala yen biro pala Ashala zedong ya. Chava che zedong ye che ya. Ani dinde namda da dinde lamu ye pe thona chimbo yorbe.
Really. Lama yonggo jigyo je na lama zol pe dichinye de kobatanye de koran ngdua.
Ale dinde lamu chamnge do.
Lama yongzo lo dukshye ro lesa de de shodo madog. Dukshi de na kongon shi yor ngze.
Ale listen. He was the monk and he was the accountant, but he was also the supervisor of all the opera dancers. So whenever we had the Shoten festival, which is when all the opera dancers got together and we had this big festival, he was the one who supervised everything.
And what was his full name, please?
His name was Tupten Gyalpo.
Tupten Gyalpo.
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 Yeah.
Got it. And what kind of personality was he?
He was considered a very good and honest person. Whenever we had picnics, my uncle was the one who would sing all the songs, and he was the leader.
He was the leader.
So whenever we had picnics, even the kids, the children from our family, the Minbuk family, children who were just 8 or 9, they would also sing opera. So everybody was very interested. Usually at the time, the servants of the families would just sit outside the house, but in my family, even the servants were called inside and they could also sing. They had to sing.
Part of the family spirit.
Yes, it was almost like a tradition.
Did your uncles teaching you some of the dances and the songs, did that in any way influence your wanting to become a dancer, a charm dancer, or opera dancer?
And I shall like the palala do shade that in the quarter, Lamangora. And did this pala so yanchik shade the Namda Tangyada, any Chiclamotavia, the Dinde call, Dinde Chag, Devado, Chikilesungesta.
Tavagili me, she parted of the Delia, Namda Tanya, that in the Changsar of the country, Puguchu, the Namda Tanganji, Tanguin.
I wasn't particularly influenced to become one, but whenever there was a picnic or a party, I would sing right away.
Maybe we'll have you sing a little bit later. Oh, can you think of any songs right now? Could you sing us something?
The shade pala shade tang shui sarwa. And in the tanda young pala in the shade in the K Ting the West, the Yama Jango so the Tanda chick tongues in the town.
Tango the Casere. Birthday new. Tunganium Chitangi. He gave the Gumidu. Kasan Tunganium Tangi.
Yes, I remember actually I sang one just the other day on the Dalai Lama's birthday. Usually when I sing, my voice cracks and I don't have enough strength, but that day it went very good. The two of us sang together.
Could you try to sing for us one song now, please?
Okay, I will sing a short Namda. Okay.
단다 단도 스타션 뒤로 라우스피 거면
로마디 간셔여와
주부 베기나 Yalani mai cha so talangani la churuse nase tadi chason namda siri
chason namda. This is called a chason namda.
Please translate what it means.
아니 단다 빨라게 시스타나 디 교고여나 디 된다로 디 가르에서
된다디 가르에서는 자송게 아니 전다 보면은 추부 빼기 렉상 괜찮이 있어 추부 빼던데 아니 개고니라스
알레레세
자송스들 남아들어
나오
아니 많이 자송달을 출생다스 그래도 많이 미치 매긴 아니는데 녀야스.
So like I said earlier, it's the Tason Namtar. Tason means a monk. So I'm talking to an old rich couple, and I'm asking them to listen to me. and DJ la khande resapala. Ta knanzo maya nge ta ngal chu nyen das warwa. And DJ ya khars warsa number na.
Ta kunja san thi khande tengi do. 배기래서 괜찮이 많이 자손달라 줄세나.
지금 수년달이 년남다 당세인 기르거지.
담마 최소야 소리진 기르가 많이 자손달라 줄세다. 다 뒤치는 게 생기빈도.
I can't remember what comes after this. Maybe it's asking them to listen to me so that I can teach them the Dharma, but I can't remember.
Okay, thank you.
It
was very beautiful. So, tell us, since you don't become a famous opera star, what happens in your life next?
Tapala namda tangen chiyo marwa. Ani islamu tangen chiyo marwa. Tachimatin. And the jelia tapala imizinal khari chunsu ma chishiro chi.
Ta tene tanga ti se Potala roya te khako chiyo ro.
No.
An nga chesa nya pala Dechen tong le ru ro ba. Dechen ya labda tu songa. Pe bu pe labda.
No.
An nga ya Dechen chi.
Alelese.
Dechen chi je an Dechen yi lab songa.
Alelese. Ani pala shingba marwe. Pala shingba marwe.
Shingare.
Ale shingba che ya le de tungi erwe.
Le rong ri le rong.
Alelese. Tungi ta le rong na tungi de chikor. Since I was having a lot of problems going to Potala, I didn't want to go. And at the time, my father was working as a clerk. He was also a farmer at Dechen Zong. And they decided to send me to the school in Dechen Zong because they had opened a new school. So they decided to send me to the school instead of sending me to Potala.
And what did you study in the school?
다 배배 가가가다 다 슈도부터 장한다.
알레다 마티에르와. I learned the Tibetan alphabets, reading and writing.
And tell us more about what happened. Were you happier in that school, or were they other Tibetan children from families that must have been a little bit well off to afford this school, or was it a free school?
Di labda ko to sunro chi sarwa bala. Labda delia ani kare labda di ngute mo wo thone su yune in the chobu den rewe ya. This ngute wo the nangmi this yaga this penjo yaga den zo ma shi drama to den re khande labda
mari su yone diga bu danye yone labu yo pala pesha te ma ka ke te ma ta kini
ala di lamngi su pal
nye pala labu yo
le
pala koran yigi ya ko shibro ba
les
제가 아니 랍다투 다 랍다투 고 소다 디리샤 군디 쪽선배 정상말로 랍다투 시제 가잖아요 봐. 정 가시 주요 가시 주요 말아.
les
디체제 녀발라고 제 주송아.
les. It was free, so anybody who wanted to send their children could send them to the school. And it was actually my father who started that school. And it was started because the 13th Dalai Lama had asked that there be a school in all the different zongs or districts. And so my father started one in his district, and it was open to everybody.
Mm. Can you tell us more about why the 13th Dalai Lama wanted there to be schools in all the districts?
근데 kuren chosun bagyan this zong changmal ya lapta du sugo yusne de sungwe gyumse khande do khare do bina
다 군디 쪽선 뭐 자갈 주규나 소유 주규나 자나 주규나 되도 딱 먹고지 세요 봐. 아니 신윤승의 개치무기 왜 캐니 아니 정신 용수 쪽 랍도 그래 진짜 까다나도가.
알레 까다나.
까다나.
알레. Oh, His Holiness the 13th Dalai Lama had traveled a lot. He had gone to India, to China, to Mongolia, and so he knew how important education was. And so he actually ordered that all the districts should start a school each.
And how long were you in that school? And were you a good student?
Pala lapta na lo hazu shubas. And did you pala lapta lobtu yakuji best did you?
Ngati agi yewe saling.
Let's see.
Takura me.
Let's see. Lapta na lo hazu shuban pala.
쪽송랑 ngati 은 간달 잡았어요 송고.
let's.
중이나 쪽송나 잡. 디부도 제 간다 이게 등이 팽이 힘이 차송아.
Let's see. I was in that school till I was about 12 or 13. I think that was the time I was sent to Gaden Monastery to become a monk. And at school, I would always come second, never the first.
And how did you feel about being sent to Gaden Monastery at around age 13?
Pala lo chok som ska da gandel tarwa. Didi so na do khandi chung so sa. Chaba chiga tang di.
디도 개 잡아지야를 가버로 제제 단침부터 그다 거스야라 지요 디도 잡아지야스니 야우지여로 정말로 그지 디제제 잡아지.
At the time, it was being a monk was considered to be something good. So though I didn't understand a lot of what was going on, I was happy to be a monk, and I went to the monastery pretty happily.
So that was about, if you were 13, that would have been in about 1948 that you went to Gaden Monastery. This must have been a very big change from a small family to Gaden. Can you tell us what that was like for you?
Pala didu ta lo chok som sla gandel papers na ta didu chik dong go ge shibji shebge sin sa res sarwa. Ani lo chok som sen ta du chunju ro. Ta hops kan so nangmi chunju ji ne gande go pa to ta du chasa chimbu ji to du zamba le so chona ro khande chung so ta di hops kan ji yor wa ta khande chung so sa.
개 디지 강에 개 테마서 아니 파도 초다도 봐 주드전에 로봇 gemba들이 땡기도 와. 로봇 gem바다 아야 나 샤세 상상 저로 디야 상상 체질이샤.
Let's see. I didn't face a lot of problems. Whenever we had to get together, we were sent with one of the older monks, and the shaksang, or I think it's like the house or the kimsang that I was in, it was actually one of the bigger ones, but I didn't have a lot of problems.
Do you know why your family selected Gaden as the monastery to which they wanted you to go?
Di pala nangmi pala gandela kharicine tangina pala kingu wes.
단데 니 간데 개개 줘로. 디 예마 대진 종지 용이지.
대진 종을 왜?
대진 종지 용이지. 대진 종도 간단히 용구로 봐.
레스.
샤즈네 지디 장즈네 지지 니 용구도 종. 근데 장제디다는 니 개개들이도 와. 아니 저랑 부근 예잘 잡았어요. 이제 아니 소 아니 아베 아니 거기 잘 잡았어요.
My teacher at Gaden was actually from Dechen Zone, and so he asked my father to send me to be a monk with him, and that's why I was sent there.
I see. Perhaps you could describe a little bit about how, when monks went to such a large monastery, how they were organized by houses. Was that from a neighborhood districts, or was that something within the monastery that organized them.
those tanda gande chazan da gomba chimborwa and dinaliya tanda nganzoge kamje seuda da shazan sne kamje sen dunzo khates kopshe ge worsa pena kuran zo da chongba ro ne yimba nyamdo shazan ro kimza ro re de wore ya chi pai chazan le chane chazan rangi kopshe gen sha
mare su de ba ka ine de duguru ba ine yang lidang ina lidang kamje nal ro koya 바바 있는 바베 감제난 좋고 로가 있는 로가 감제난 좋고야 떠바 있는 떠바 감제난 좋고 저기 이내 망체 수수 떠바 가 있는 준비요 짱바 있는 짱바 감제지
It's not organized by the monastery. It's up to us where we want to go, but usually what happens is people from the same area and the same region go to the same house, and that's how it usually happens. The people from Bawa go to the Bawa house, and people from Litang go to the Litang house.
I see. And how many monks do you think were in the monastery at that time when you became a monk?
Did you pala gande pedi zambalia gande nal chaba khazes jonasa?
세야로 somno som게 시고 데 나동서 요래.
It was said that there were around 3,300 monks, but it was more like 5,000.
Really? Mm-hmm. And how did the monks get their food and nourishment?
And did you travel in Zulia Kalada? Didn't Kanera was?
쇼게 자다 자지 소진승에 되는 다 샤지 장지님도 처버되나네 쇼게 망제신이 쇠지 피우도 쇠지님도 점점 투부에 요새
투부 레스
디제 되네 닝골이야 야 자상수수네 자자스제야 자다 투부든데 등그리
네 닝고데 자상수수수로 간데르 샤르징님도
샤르징님도 자상수수 지도가 아니 잠바도 수수 초구 지제 수수 잠바도 수수 샤네 계도 좀좀야 제수네마 잠바도 좀야 간데티도 간승이 줘디 타바르를 홍세를 양 잠바도 되게 도 양록수지도
아니 든소 칼라노 지나니 카네라 워레
또 군주 제모다 데발라다 베데 자산한데 디도도 남주 샤르메 테스트 당기요레
in the mornings for breakfast, when both Changtse and Shartse got together for the big prayer, we would have tea and sometimes tupa. But for lunch, when each monastery had our own lunch, it was again just tea, and we had to bring our own tsampa. And the food, it sometimes comes from the monastery itself, but at other times we would just cook in our own rooms.
But what I meant was, who supplied the food to the monasteries if the monks were busy, studying scripture and doing ceremonies? Was there farming as part of the monastery, or did the farms supply the food?
The chavadunzu manje the susu pejataya da tindelia the tindel tuzuke de an khala dinzu rai yungye de khne yungore pena chik the shingba dinzu zan yungore khane yungore sakala
다 자산이나 자산 거라게 야 시가다 딘데 딘데제 되네 제소 있는 제소제 단데 야 간절이야 지도 가능이죠 만딜레 제외지요 가래서는 제rum무지 슈베 거로야 미막 신가 표시하는데 도가 મં구도 매도 공가다 대신데 예연 디게 신가 디게 다 계란가 신가디야 표현을 봐 신가디 계란 많나 델리야 아니 보마스제 루보 직니 숨 신거치 좀 바고 직니 숨 로르난 디초게 도가 보마스인데
레레레
어 디게 되니 아니 잡아라야 아니 마 두마 포게
레레레 So each monastery had their own land or farm, but there was another means through which the monasteries got food, and I was also a part of that committee. There was a committee that worked just for this, and what happened was at the time of Rinpoche, a lot of farmers all over Tibet had offered their land to the monastery, and then these land were given back to the farmers, but when they harvest, they're required to give a certain amount of their produce or whatever they got to the monastery, and that's how the monastery got food supplies.
When the Chinese invaded Tibet, they claimed that they were trying to change the oppression of the monasteries over the people. Did the people feel like they were oppressed by the monasteries from your point of view, inside the monastery?
다 개미가 뭐 별로 힘들지 막 kunzo shares나 다 별나리 아니 곰바다 든조카게 아니 미든조를 빼면서 다 나주다니 막 this water the share and nganzo jingjo dang is water 개미 든조기 빨라기 삼주 지원나 디디 잠발이 아니 별나리게 별미든조를 뭐네게 곰바든조기 막 냄제 딘데 지워레 미든조기 다 손나라 딘데라고 손난게요 요나스다
이만 지진 손난게요 말이 딘데 가 나와 도메 이네다 미범부제 야고지고 가시 범부 독자들이 미르세 송용고요. 독자들이 송토네 미만이야. 지금다 온리셰는 근데 요거로 근데 미독자들이 중고요. 뭐도 지칭들이 근데 제는 조거에 말을요. 거로 팀이요.
No, people did not feel oppressed at the time. Of course, there were some people, some landlords, some who were not very good, and they would treat their servant very badly. So there were always some people, but generally most of the people were good, and even if they wanted to, they couldn't do anything bad because there were laws at the time.
There were laws. With their please.
아니 네가 디리도가 배나 리차샤냐 개미 디셰고 좀된 가르스는 별 사고고 별 센다 간다 고고다니 좀 배가 디디 롭좀 야고 요마 딱 더블리는 롭좀 조슈다 아니 통도고 냠뇨 매니 농부 구구진 앞에 자제 대배 견시고 여러 가지 제가 되게 고고다야라 아니 그런도 나다 친구 숨고 아니 배 자원당 나주당 아주 자원의 징주던 게 있어 아니 견조 배 니마 아니 배 피면나 치 독주 치 라로스 제제라고 요레스 러게 답에 미마도 고고다야 된다리야 이 시에셔로 근데 징미라 근데 나베 징미라 미도에 나베 징미라 니마미게 대나 콜레지 피기 숨도가 비디던데 조고지게 징미 계랑 깨지시티지스 가르치기어 티야드스 걔한테 롱바님이 셔그르베시드스
알레
치면나라고 봐 제가 또 보고도 다 디자 시국 제다 시 제가 치면나 치 독주 치 라로 안 배가성인데 라로르스 독주비어스 아니 면나르스 제가 님이 셔그면서 안 깨지티도 봐 근데 시 재미 더 디자지야 왔다 그 배워야 된다리야 탑셔죠 봐
The reason why the Chinese said that was because they had to invade Tibet, and so they used all these tactics and came up with all these different terms, so in order to fool the Tibetans. And Tibetans at the time were uneducated and maybe a little bit ignorant because we were so isolated from everything. So we didn't know, we were not very aware of what was going on, and so the Chinese used this in order to meet their goal. And at the time, I don't know if you've heard of him, but there's Ngabe Jingme, and he talked about how when he went to study in China, a friend of his asked him if the sun ever shines in Tibet, and it just goes to show just how brainwashed everybody was by the message that China was sending out, talking about how Tibet is a dark country and everyone's ignorant and nobody knows anything. So these were all tactics used by the Chinese.
So the Chinese were telling their own people that the sun never shines in Tibet. It was a dark country. And I see.
No.
먼저 키랑도 미만 섭지수가 용부다. 먼저 키랑도 섭지수가 용부다. 섭지수가 여기. 운도 먼저 나한테 봐지다. 쌤은 자신미도 소리. 신경아신미도. 신경미도 대 주주형만 20대 따네. 근데 다가 보고 쌤은 신경에 저 로버지기가 그러다. 이제 제 벨레셰네. 근데 먼저 키랑도 섭지수미에 있었다.
When they came saying that we have come to serve you people. And I remember how in our farms they sent about 10-15 Chinese people saying that they've come to help us, but they didn't even know how to use the sickles and harvest, but they were just there and trying to fool us and acting like as if they were there to help us.
So before we get to that, let us see, you enter the monastery at 13, and then what are you doing during those years? And what are you doing during when you joined the monastery? What's your daily life like?
다 로초솜 가 발로 공부 주르와 안데도 공부 나는데도 잠발 페나 다 쇼게 네신 건다부터 니마치게 직 간데도 요르사
다 원래 제는 쇼게 망자승인데 쇼게 최주 니마 마샤고는 초신 그 초.
아네
딜만 초르고 그래. 디 초도 저 차서나 다장기 어느 최라승이 초.
아네
다 내 자도 두고 있다 그게요 말이. 다세 땅 아니 최저야 되기. 디 쇼게 최초. 되네 닝고리아 자자승에 딴 다장수수 잡던 거와 자다 두고로 답 가리네 디담. 디마 저서나 야 닝고 최라서 다세 땅 아니 최저지.
네스
되네 고다 전대시제 드라마도 이제 아니 드라마다 다 드라마 코제 저기다 야 전대시제 고다 양들이 현디스 소죠. 어디 미질 소디 디가 맞소요다.
알레 소디 쇼게디 제 알레 레시리시
맞춰도
so we had to get up before sunrise. That was our first prayer of the day, and that was both the Changse and Shartse monastery together, so it was everybody in the monastery, and that's where we would have our morning tea. After that, then we had the chura. There was but it was just for Changse. If you were in Changse, it was just the Changse monastery, and that's when we had our debates and all of our scripture classes. That was the chura, and then we would have lunch. It was usually tea or and tupa or something else. And then that was also followed by another chura, another debate session. And then in the evening, we would have, again, a prayer session where we would recite the Dharma. So it was a total of 5 sessions.
Okay.
Yeah, a total of about 5 sessions a day.
5 sessions. You were learning debate at 14, 15, 16 years of age?
Pala lo ta chosum chupsi dine ani tasa da enda dine jangwar besa. The chura ka tasa dine.
다세 당고. 다 이내가 딱세 당에 디 델이야 지금 디 땅금이도.
알레레세.
그래서 나 비야고요. 비야고 유도전에 지기 레지브 지고 그랬지. 다세 당에 나 주요. 네 주저도 다세 당에 나 주요.
알레레세. Yes, sometimes monks as young as 13 and 14 were taught debate, but at the time I wasn't allowed to be in that group because I was pretty good at writing, and so they told me that I had to be one of the clerks or one of the officers. But my elder brother was in the group that studied debate.
So continue your story. I guess first I want to understand, did you begin to have any kind of deeper understanding of the Dharma?
아니 디두 잠발이야 안타발로 공부나 슈두 잠발라 안치 낭초기 꼴라 딘데다 디꼴 냠뇽도다 디톨라 망아싱엔도 지체숭에서 공부나 슈지
다 취취스 처련을 줘야 저러봐 되게 심국도 롤 심지 뼈고 아니 라마 쳐봐다 진짜 직 심국도 어떤 진짜로지만도 생이도 마시고 다기라면서 다 이내 예 조조도 농원도 이제도 오마 주버도 다 생이날 따고 봐. 그런 때도 전에 양에디 피해제는 양 초리가 겨도 전에 님도 겨두고.
아, 레든조 상마 예 디수두 잠발지 카레 든조 교회 된대로 왜.
겨르교 안 치네 다세 당에서 그러 봐. 원도 이제도 오마 주버 생인데.
아, since I wasn't part of the debate, I didn't have any in-depth knowledge of the various scriptures, but I knew most of the basic prayers, so because I had to recite them during the prayer sessions. But since my older brother was studying all of this, I sort of learned a little bit from him, so I knew a little bit, but I didn't have a lot of in-depth knowledge.
And how does your life begin to change, or when does it change in the monastery?
다 공부는 디디 잠발아니 빨라이다 미즈로디다 당보 유어드웨디 카두 도와줘서 다 공부는 되지.
로초게스네 아니 네 개겐디 캐나라야 배송아. 다고려야.
알았어.
배제 아니 샤긴 게르 정말 계고송아. 안 되는 거 직접
When I was about 18, my teacher went to China to visit. And at the time, I had to take the responsibility of the entire house. And so from then on, I became a more responsible person, almost like an adult.
What was the reason why your teacher went to China to visit?
No.
Tibetans tabada kuta karoshe. Then sender kasumne timide, timini, tazarne, shazine, changzine, tasarane, dagane, serame, the shade of Yorova. Those is timidam, Tagoria, Kemikieta.
Oh, he was part of the group invited by the Chinese government to visit China. So at the time, there were representatives from the government, the Tibetan government, and then there were 2 representatives each from each monastery, and so my teacher was one of them.
Did you have at that time any understanding of why the Chinese would want representatives from the government and the monasteries to visit China?
Did you know do someone do pala did you can gamidin zugi tanda peshungi kuzabda ani gombanani kuzab tende de canal su tende shiwe tende carried away in samsos.
But the Gogodan in Dalia, and console Yaguche, and Petolo Yagote, that you Kala Yagote, and the Koran to 2 shootings on one.
It was in order to fool everybody. They invited everyone, treated them really well, gave them nice clothes, and then they wanted to show off their strength. And so it was all in order to fool us. And
Do you remember what year that was? And did His Holiness go with that group?
Did you pala loha do ting the west and did you garmche nyamdo per west?
Lhasa to den Tarbasing. Galunjik.
Did you loha de na bal ting do?
A lot of game be you.
Pala lojob gerwa. And His Holiness didn't go at the time. From the Tibetan government, Lhasa Thubden Tharpa went. I was 18. I think I was 18 at the time.
And did you hear any interesting accounts when they returned from China?
An kundu tsu gyanan tsu loyu du zambali ani kundu share nyembo de kedo as a pranzo yu pai nyamyo do hande chu.
Ta ruti dang du standard di tanda jagal 26 January che mai wo di nang shi ruti ta me mi ta ane medda da di to mom dinde chi do su ne be shi tu shu yu ba dinde da ane ta go ka sa kal thi ta kan da chi tu shu mom ya da ta chi go ya de sha so.
They said that they were taken to different places on tour, and then they also talked about how there was a military parade, and so lots of soldiers and weapons, and they said that it was just to show their strength, their military power and strength.
And then tell us what continues then after you're 18. What are some of the next significant events in your life?
Tapala did you lojob gerwa? And the jail ta corridor chungse pala imizinalia tas che yang karichaso lojob ke di jail.
Tan lojob ke jail ya ani ke gen de lo ma lo chukuni stil ke gen sha so ani nga di kande tido kan sing de leje ko so.
Let's see. My teacher passed away when I was about 19 or 20, and I was appointed as one of the officers or staff of the monastery's committee.
Which committee was that?
The Tido Kansu.
Kande Tido kan. Jesu musin Dalai Lama so dirba.
Ale.
Ta jig du de da de ta ku jang
Ale do the Ale. It's called the Tido Kang, and it's actually Jirinpoche's private house, and it was the house that sort of supervised all the grains and food supplies that came into the monastery.
And what was it like for you when your teacher passed away?
Ampala gela shadu zambal bala tsuna kandi gesus.
Te me pala di shasa de
Oh pala ma gela
di shadu de nalma mandu nal shasa.
Ale, listen. My teacher actually passed away in my house.
Oh, ani Koran komji di ge ya Lama sister yore.
No.
Tangan chanto changa be chana kong ta shun jin be di gegen kurang komji di zali ya ta kong sha su che lengya ka to ko juma. Ta she na du be me se be ngam da jung.
Apala thebe.
Machimi.
Ah, lese.
Be she na ju.
So my teacher's family actually lived in Lamu. It's another region, and so when he passed away, I had to go at night to tell them, and it was a very scary time for me. I went crying all the way. It was very sad.
Can you tell us what were the reasons for your great sadness?
Pala du simba de kyo go gyunse ro khalinasa.
Kashmisi be semba kyobochi dan kharsaur ta shibi kyobojung. Ani chana gol rokoya. Ta gyuni be de adu bel chana gol paso rogo rigu lungu shada rogo ba.
Lao ro.
Kuma de chakwa de ri ge nyanga yo ro ba. Ta ine ge khanda miji go tu sa de rosha ro ba.
Pala jigo the ro.
Ma jigo chi.
Ta da chi. I don't know, but it was a very, very sad time for me, and the fact that I had to travel at night. I was traveling all alone on a horse, so it was also a scary time because in Tibet, traveling at night is very, very dangerous. There are lots of robbers and thieves on the way. So it was a sad time, and it was also a very scary time.
Scary and sad.
Yeah.
And Pala, can you please tell us what was the name of your teacher and how many years had he been your teacher?
Pala gela tsel kharina ni kura pala gegen chi lo khazis gegen chi rusa.
Taki lo tu de chinama do. On kong chen le ya tu
His name was Tundub Gyalpo, and he was my teacher for about 6 years.
And when a teacher dies, what kinds of ways do they deal with the remains of the teacher? What is the ceremony, or where do they put the remains of anyone in the monastery?
Ta tanda pala ge gela thongdu ne ta china ni gomba na la ta thaba de thongdu zamba le ani phungbu di khande sin chi wores.
Phungbu meta dang ne.
We cremate the body. Pala ge gela phungbu meta ta ro.
Is there anything done with the remains, the ashes?
Ale ani phungbu meta ta sa ne an tanda chi khlang chi gyor wa di khase de la. Thela de le ya khaji resa.
Khashe chaza gyanye yo khashe gyanye yo ma re.
It depends.
The Lama the day, Mr. Chedri, only tell the Sasa Jevitashi. Yankachi tell it, make my children, Tambo Shimwe.
It depends. Sometimes the ashes are thrown into the river, but in case of high lamas, or sometimes what happens is they are made into tzaza, which is, I don't know if you know about it, but they're made into like tiny stupas and stored.
Yes, I do. So, can you please tell us what next happens in your life? Your teacher dies, you've become, have more responsibilities now, and then what is the situation like in Lhasa and in your monastery in the next few years?
The pala lojob case che the gela thorwa and pala the chick leje of chadorwa and did you sambal the classally and nedang handed over your and the DJ in that handed over child that tum did name matching by enough conditions.
That lesson that to do top in the 2 years. Per carry topasa. Carry to top of dinner and the pala do. No,
so for the carry top in
and that top of the Carsa top of the milk side of that mean decision. Carry top away. The top of the Ming Xie. top of the Ming Xie. Conto Tosa the Tados is Tadoras Mshasing in Nanso. So, Jen Conto Tonto Tarajelia, Choshi Tamgelia, Yan Chemirum, the Chiti Jagatu, and not Chemi Carol, since that.
Around that time, people were beginning to form groups or organizations to work for the Tibetan cause. And my father was also
Miman
a
Sokpa
member.
Miman Sokpa.
I think it was called People's Group or People's Organization. I'm not sure about the name. I can't remember properly. But my dad was part of one of those groups, and they would have meetings, and I used to attend some of the meetings.
What was causing the people to form these kinds of groups for the Tibetan cause?
Did you know about the
Gemi Jingdu Tango Sigurova. Zedangta Jingdu Tanga message. He donari. Dicovlia Pena, a dick, the Duke of the Pen Chamdo Show, Niayo, and Chamdo Niashon might be your married. And Gemi Jet, Pepper Jet, Pepper, Legun Soya, Lagachia, Pepper, Gemi Chair, Gemi Corache, Kanda, Perangdon Show Rangja Debru.
So at the time, the Chinese were already in Lhasa. They were fighting with the Tibetans till Chamto, but after Chamto, they were just living with the Tibetans almost side by side. But they kept talking about liberating Tibetans. So these groups were formed to oppose that. But yeah, at the time in Lhasa, there was no fighting. It was only till Chamto.
I see. And then, when did you personally first notice that there were Chinese coming into Lhasa in unusual numbers? How old were you, and what did you see happening?
Gami ruwa Lhasa nangya ta gami des mangru du ta gami mangbu yungu du samay gi sa ta pala du thangpo ro khadu thona chungso sa pala lo khaje sina sa du
motor lane jeje ani gami morchi sinso wa motor male budu digis borchim mare
re
motor lane sungde ani hin pat shibuj khangso ha
re du da pala lo khaje sina
Chupke chugu dwa yin sa ye.
Lo chupke chugu sen sa.
Karesi motor yindu jane nanju miji niya choko pugu jile ya mendash du. Pistol ji.
Mendash mu je yar ngone.
Ngone ni sha.
Le.
Ta ti ji du chana gonjile ya anu motor lo pe pa ne ding 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 kilometer singa jo ne ke gu du ga pe bel de yo ma ro ke ding ding sing du. Ani mendash keje ngamdu 신경가라야. 되게 나려요.
알레레스.
시거야 지거로 봐. 로토지 디버룰이야. 아니 얘기를 간서. 아니 얘기때도 어느 연구도 못할래서. 아니 자가제 뭐 신경이 말다 자란다 디우여도 매 신경이 말다 딜렙도 연구기서. 렙이면 연구미도 그거 다 같이 깨져미도.
알레레스.
아니 운동한도 시에서 거야 띠네로 보고. 틱타스 틱탁시도 틱탁문도 깨자면도 틱타 멘데케레스 상고페레 멘다레스 그 미디 밀페레스 민도 어 디데제 또비안 바마서 뭐 바네 가야다
오지 알레
어 디데죠 그 디로 주고서 하면도 디질레스
예 there weren't many Chinese before the automobile started. But after that, there were more Chinese because they came in trucks, and a lot of Chinese came. And I think I was about 18 or 19 at the time. I remember one particular incident. I was at home at the time, and a friend of mine actually had a gun. And so it was at night, and we were sleeping in the fields. That's usually what we did. After we had harvested everything, we would sleep in the field to protect it. And so it was in the middle of the night, and we could hear all these trucks rolling in. Since it was very quiet, we could hear them very clearly from almost 4 or 5 kilometers. And we could see the lights as well from far away. And my friend who had a gun, we were playing and we tried to shoot it, but there was no bullets in it. And so it just made that sound tick-tack, tick-tack. We knew that if we pressed it, it would go, but nothing happened because there was no bullet in it.
You were really guarding your field with a gun and no bullets.
Shinga de pe pal shinga de nal shinga de yo ra de samba shinga nal nge de yo ro konda chen ale menda de kini shinga de pe di chin de yo wesa palat.
Menda de ko nye ro po to po ko
che.
So if you were 18 at the time, that was about 1953. when you saw the Chinese at least coming in trucks. But when you were a monk, when did you first notice that there were that there were Chinese in Lhasa? What did you see with your own eyes?
Ta pala lo chulgu sudu sambal du chulung gu jangap chung na sum sin sa re sarwa an du sambal ta pala du thawarwa ani thawa gap su ta monni gi Lhasa na la ta gyami mangbul le sha se ta le ni khari chung me pala susu mi rangi ta susu rangi khari thong so
mixi gi ta ke khari tona che ru ge yung mi du ta mi chi le ge che den du koran sung du sung koran ge ji 더 좀 걸 때야 답해. 자산돼요. 재미있는 거는 제제. 다 두디 재미 가지고 그러서는 레세 바고 난다 대박이 강보 첨부도 중에 빼샤때. 어다 딘딘데 제 아니 강보 망고 접지도.
재미도 저러.
이네 책동 급자 야고 시기면도 뭐 토마 개미 강바 저기도 데 강바 장막까지 하셔다 제 작쇼 토급 지금부터 다가서 직지 이제 뭐도 대금이도 때네 모터 독슬레 살아와 아니 강바도 바깥겨 아니 강바 더서 아니 거지도 봐
at the time I didn't pay a lot of attention. The Chinese were there, but they were sort of living together with the Tibetans because the Tibetan government was still intact and everything was done by the Tibetan government. And I saw that some of the Chinese had bought houses and land in and around Lhasa, and they were building houses, but those were not very stable houses. They were just like simple houses with tin roof and just simple walls. But after the trucks came in, they started building actual houses.
Oh, I see. And your father and other Tibetans were forming these groups to oppose the Chinese. Did you become a member, or any of the monks become a member of these groups?
And then pala suswa tanda pala gi tanda pala khonzo tanda chokwa tanda gochu shasrwa rangde chokwa tanda gochu du zambala ani pala ya dunzu nan zu shu nai be yan chaba shimba tanda nan zu shu tanda
yo ma nga pala roba jeje pala roba je di cheme de ken rugu do de kero roba chime
al cheme kwa kin rugu
di choshi si de liang lese choshi le la lagan si yo o tinzolo ya chidi ru jaga chi chi to kan ste di kunzu tabshi ro karina 미만 속바시리
I wasn't really an active member of the groups, but I used to go with my dad to help out. At the time, we had 4 different temples, 4 different corners of Lhasa, and they used to go to light butter lamps. So I used to go with them to help him out. I don't know why they did it, but yeah, I wasn't really an active member.
Mm-hmm. And then, how did your life change after that?
And DJ ya pala gi mizi gi wa handes chinsus.
다 되네 디치엘다 다 야고 시금도 가르치 다 디치엘은 아다고 벨레가 체제다 메도 공가스니로 대진스도 바파도 로고도 말레가 제가 듣고 제가 고 벨레가 체제되비 록니 숨시 독슬레가 체제 되네 로 말로시 니슈톡 숨면로 딜로데 아니 자오름시 간델이야 아니 담자샤가 페송아 찬다 담자스니다 자오름이 기시기 다세 담바 페송아 찬다시가 어디디가 디 디도 관계 자오름지가 남사칸 남사답지 아니다 남사 야마 케니 질린도 케니 망고샤체스 어디 제가 디도강 레지로 자오름지 디도강 쇼고 간델 쇼쇼든가
No. So I was working at the monastery and looking after all the food supplies, and I had to go to different districts to supervise all those. And then when I was about 23, the Dalai Lama came to Gaden for his geshe, to give his geshe exams. And I remember at the time I was given the responsibility of looking after all of his robes and folding them and taking care of them.
Tell us more.
Dikol thande tes sono chizba.
Now an jaorumji shazi jamzi dawa phiur ba. Phidu namsa chebu dai ne ge ba chije to ko boss evi jignal ke. Diche ani 세고 고바 샤질이네 샤지 장지네 장지 최를 피디 최를 제제도 수동도 디디셔리 중요한 안 겨울인지 좀도 다네시tin데 담지 최게다 되게 제가 페이지 건다 서슈티 바가지고도 님은 지금 때 지루쇼 나 서슈 바지 지루쇼 겨울인지 페이 더셔 다 주고 자기 죽겨버리면 왜 네가 죽으면 네 눈물에 사야 하는 거야.
So at the time, His Holiness would have to go to different places, to Changze or Shartse, and wherever he went, I had to go with him, carrying his change of robes, and so I had to carry them on my back and go with him wherever he went. And sometimes at night, I had to light the lamp. I remember one night I was a little bit late and I couldn't get the lights on, and so His Holiness came and said, "Don't push it so hard, otherwise the bulb will fall down."
What was His Holiness like in those days? He was a much younger man. Can you tell us what his personality was like? Or
did you that concert be Kaswada Shesa Mashina Shunshirwa?
Many lender,
Did
you used to have a manual.
Even
used to have a manual. The orange in Nave Nalatumbrova.
No.
She reached Joma.
You should ball again, but you just wanted to mention that. Sorry. Forgetting sometimes, yeah. His Holiness and I actually have the same age. I'm actually 20 days elder than His Holiness. And did you sambal rabala? That Dicolia, did you guarantee that caloric? Candida, get constitutional candida, we use it. She got old and Jura. Did you bet the Lord? No.
One change the music, Castle, Tonyum Rab that didn't know me do. Not to like it just to pay. Toga Kandava Chakjana, Kamana didn't know.
He was very humble, not arrogant at all, even though he was the Dalai Lama. He would come to where we were working and he would pat us on our back and he would talk to everybody.
Namsa used to a man, Namsa Tabziko, and Jeda, Mangupu or Jeda, and to Tabziko, to chicken and the Toga Chakjana.
When I was folding his robes or folding all the katas that he was offered, he would come and pat me on my back.
A very nice kind of blessing.
But you loved him, what was it?
No.
So we're now talking about 1958. And did you actually see the Dalai Lama go through his examination?
Really?
Yes.
Really? No. Can you describe it a little bit? How long was it? Could you understand it, the questions and his answers?
Did you sambal khande chuena pala this deshe gero chida sarwa? Did you tase dange did gurungbo chinrwe ani kunzuda chiba the land chigoro tase dang du sambal tinde khande pala did go through the khande resa gerom che did tase dang du sambal.
Tanga did that 타는 거 고구미도 이내 땅나 다들도 야고도 다 차시 지금 너나 찾아야죠. 근데 중무서 잘 깔래 야고 넘기세요. 근데 그게 계시하셔서 빼깔래 야고 넘기세요.
Listen. I was a little bit far, so I couldn't hear clearly. But when they're doing debates, if they make a mistake, they say "tsa," and that didn't happen very often. And some of the other geshes were saying that His Holiness was giving very good answers.
Very good answers. So we're now at 1958, because you were at Gaden when His Holiness came. So what happens next in your life story?
대성 달라마가 기타는 막고는 안주 진다요 봐. 안주 진다다 르둥아 콘주 단데 그게 니면나래야 상간대 중고네 맨다 배우신 거 맨다 검저 여러 맨다 샤세 시도 디 동가 침버로 봐. 디 동가 두두전에 개미 마 잡제네. 시자 안주 진다다 콘주 장비네야 지고나래야지. 르둥아 펜변에 제 간대를 요네 아니 이게 자송한 간주 간대 곰조고 쓴 자상 감도 고국이 나로데 이게 자제 아니 먼저 땡송 당아마갈이야 아니 골락제다 된줄이야 독범해 당한도 가리강에도서 민용의 강에도 근데 인도전에 긴두마마도 시머쇼로지 상계 템바 투요레스 긴두마마 시머쇼로지 다페로지 이게 자송아 저도가
레스
디자니 다드네 안행감도 서럽도 달로 저게 주고 니슈다단 제베다 미창말로 안 베랑송아
오리리리리
다 미치네 비가 골라서도 지다 야고 지역이 있네 따따따르면도 아슴지 제 아슴에 창말로 심줄래제 아니 줘야래야 아니 양 톡버는데 또 있다 송동대 저제 말다 찍찍로 미가 제장도 공배 팀이가 좀 됐다 도바표 차차고로 공바 지도 전에 패지 민기제 예매도가
알레
아는 가서 템버다 로컬 봐
알레 단데디 콘조 땡송 달라왕 안투
고부터시
안투 곰부터시
안투 고부터시
안투 곰부터시다 안 심바드 민 카르사바
라두마와
라오 알레 알 군이 단다 락조도 칸네 땡가 치레
상간대 중고스인데
언데 과이 레서
짱글
짱 추라 right so at the time members of the voluntary army Andrew Gompotashi and Radu Ngawan they had gone down to the Tsang region where they had their storage where they kept all the weapons and guns and stuff. So they had gone down to get those guns, and at the time they were attacked by the Chinese. So when they came back, one of them actually came to Gaden Monastery, and I remember they put a notice on the entrance and said that we have plenty of guns, we have enough weapons, but we don't have people. So all of you monks and nuns, you shouldn't just sit and watch because our Dharma and our country is at stake. So you should come and take up arms and help us. And so we didn't have any big meetings, but everybody saw that notice. And then when everybody got together at the entrance where we took off our robes and decided to take up arms, we were about 200 monks.
No.
It was a very sad time because we gave up. We had to give up our vows and leave the monastery.
Yes, it was a very sad time. The first, when they were attacked by the Chinese, they were getting guns from the Potala Palace?
Not the Potala Palace.
From where?
From somewhere in Tsang. Shanganden Chogor is the name of the place, but it's a region in Tsang.
In Tsang. Outside of Lhasa?
Lhasa yi chilo ri.
Lhasa ma
Taring lu zin.
Jagachol. Takun josum.
Ji Thardo dang zhong de taring lu zin.
Ta shen ni ma sum shi lang ga yin ji lo Lhasa ne.
It's towards India, so if you were to go on a horse, it would take about 3 days from Lhasa.
Really? 3 days away. So the Chushi Gondok were trying to get, was that the under?
Chushi Khandu zhe, Chushi Khandu ma ro.
Tensong Dalai Lama siu de de.
Ye Chushi Khandu.
Yeah.
Oh, it was Chushi Khandu, but at the time it was called by some other name.
By some other name.
Yeah.
But they tried to get the guns. They were attacked by the Chinese, and one escaped and came to Gaden.
Both of them escaped, but so I'm trying to figure out which one. So Andrew Gompotashi kuna kwa
Kong diguna le ya. No ta diguna le ya chi. Kong radu nga pembusnel de kandel sha yo mro.
Male. So Radu Ngawan came through Pempo and came to Gaden, but Andrew Gompotashi went to Dragong. So both of them escaped, but they went to different areas.
And they came to the monastery and they said, we have guns, but we have no help.
Yes.
Where were the extra guns?
아니 콘소 단다 Radu Ngawa ta Gandel perwa. Gandel yundu zambalan 콘소 kita nganzo ta menta de nangda mesin de jarwa. De menta dun sama kawa yorsa dudu. 콘소 pa lenga chirwa.
lenga chi de mande bro 다 남주나는 대지고요. 남주나는 대구탄스대야 락자다 지들 요시에요. 에몬신이 지금 만다지요. 대 망구에서 말이지.
아니 라두 나와기 때 간델이야 맨다 키니 요로.
말이 코랑 얘기 작아요.
간도 이게 작아요. Let's so Radu Ngawa actually came to Ganden just to put up that notice.
Okay.
But there were talks about some guns being dropped from planes as well.
I see. And so what did you do?
아니 빨라 되다 같이 봤어. 아니.
다들 딱 골라서 여기 있는 다 로이네리 다 개밀직 진짜직 맞아요. 개미 올 대고는 대도서 말이에요. 진짜 안 다져요. 봐. 네 바바 아메 신경 뭐 빈자게 신경 뭐 수지 신경 뭐 나랑 다 제지요. 다 뒤는 먼저 대도 대스타가 돼. 레지비 인도는 따요리 양치기 맨다 진진을 해요. 다 디미니 이제 잡아 지징들이야. 요마 다 차이봐 뒤에 요마로 콘도. 배제 때 렉디지면도. 아니 상한들이 여러 별. 상한들이 들리게 막내매 막 그 뒤담면다 맨다신의 별다들이 여러 봐. 아니 뒷바신데 여러. 님의 말. 뭐 개발기 뭐가 뒤개발기는 맞아도 내가 이거 저 다시나요 말다. 그저 스무지 세바자리. 다 비게 락자로 지시우지 이게 삼제 다 된감 두고요.
So I made this decision that I couldn't live under the Chinese, so I decided to take our arms and fight. A lot of young monks at the time, 18, 19, 20, a lot of us just made that same decision. My parents didn't know about it. It was something that I decided on my own. And since I was actually one of the staff at the monastery, I had horse, and some of us, we had some guns as well. But the ordinary monks, they did not have anything. They didn't even have knives because they were just there to study the scriptures. And what they did was they took up some really old Tibetan guns that were in storage, and then they got some long knives. So we got all of those on our backs, and we went thinking that, once we get there, we'll have the weapons and we'll be able to fight.
And where were you going?
So we were going to Lhoga, where the Chushikandro or the voluntary army was based or stationed.
And what happened on the way?
유주도 정중이 되니야 추도 로가나 마루요. 니엘 되는마 간대다 단들 해서 되는마 추 유주도 되는마 두스죠. 되는마 추슈부도 추슈네 정주도 있는마 요 유주니 되니 에야 로가나 두스마도.
알레타디 장부디 타다 산치르.
안장 타니지 안장고 파도니. 안 롱 주고스 롱 누관 주고스도 어데도 메만도.
네. So we had to cross many hills. And some of us had horses, but a lot of us didn't. So we were walking, and we were following the river. There was one river coming from Lhasa, and then the other river, Zangchu, from Zang. And so these two rivers met and would go towards Lhoga, and so we followed that river and finally crossed that river and got to Rong Lukang.
Were you stopped by or shot at by the Chinese anywhere along the way?
Lamgala ni gemi gi ma gyavada gemi mendashibada de chu.
Ye to maso. Ta nganzu chanangol do studentene gemi model langa yeso de chanangol chuzu ta gandene chuzu tukbotel dimbotel tayona chuzu 중니들 아니 gemi langa mesa rigal phalle tuko.
No, we did not meet any Chinese. So if we had left Ganden around 6, by the time to the Chuvaslarwa, around by 10 p.m.
6.
Gondarwa. Yeah, by 10. Okay.
By 10?
By 10, there were no Chinese at all, and there were no paths, so we were just crossing hills, and so we had, left all the Chinese behind.
I see. Were the Chinese were in Lhasa?
Did you get me to the Lhasa to let Thardo? All the Chinese were in Lhasa in Dechen, and they were stationed at intervals along the path.
Was there any attack on the Summer Palace or Potala Palace at that time?
Did you somebody get me Nobulinga da ani Potala lia today? Menda Gavada, did they catch you and get me?
So this was, do you remember the exact year and maybe the month of this?
Did you look at you in Tawakatu in a palating to West? Around 58 maybe. I think when we left the monastery, I think it was around the 9th or 10th month.
9th or 10th month. And this was if you said 58, so this was about a year before Lhasa was attacked.
Tabala ngapchungap ge studio zambala Lhasa lia and gami ta ngunik ta ngapchungap huna chu yorwa the logics nging ke jerwe.
Yeah. And in your group, was it only monks from Gaden, or were there other groups that joined you?
Ani pala hunzu itanda chobot ta chigmi manguchi duwarwa dinala gande gi thawagyan jerwe ya mishimba de yores.
나도 간대 칼람 간대 갑나데 겨우들이 미리니 요래. 힘도 망체 잡으래. 겨우들이 가셔요.
There were a few laymen, but most of us were monks from the Gaden Monastery.
I see. And what was the intention in your heart to go take off your robes and go and confront or stop the Chinese? What was the purpose behind your doing that?
Maya rules what I meant that did do some bad so did you sembanalia me you do the corridor Sunday chimbinas.
Did you that call up say Yaguchi? That much gave in the thermometer sometimes did that dinner and Candena to Yenalia. Jesu to me ledo yorita. Jesu to Cande Jesu talking your D to me among Koran ledo Koran.
Listen.
Kembuni Kadikasa. Lamani. Dogan can juice in it, Yangreti juice in the Lamani. And then a Shesu or Digo Suba or Chansu Suba, Kuda Manguya Maduna.
Shesus in Harba.
Shamusuba.
Shamus in a pompous.
Pombo Candeglia, Shamus Tinda, the Timbuilders of Tinda. Tinda Suba didn't want to Manguji. I never want to get that wrong to us as the less one. That they lived in the Ronroya and Ron Pogansing. DJ and the net on Dalai Lama called the Popo in the less. Popo de Leni and that cannot pay and pay a which so that didn't do that cannot do Susu Tabuna juice, Susu Tabuna juice in a Lidana juice, Chadina jo that this year. And Manzo couldn't meet Campati. Manzo Takuzoga minus Manzo Takune to Tagayon beings. Manzo Maga to the Majino Maran to Kuzu Mash around Tagatu wins. Delicious.
Gande Gombo crowns the Travesamanyamdo digging.
Oh,
so at the time we went with thinking that if we had the weapons, then we would, fight the Chinese. We were just ready to do whatever was needed. And a lot of monks who went at the time were. We also had 2 lamas who went with us, 2 very high lamas, and we had the head staff of the whole Gaden Monastery, and a lot of other very high lamas and high officials were also with us. And when we got to Rong and met the representatives of the Chushikando army, we were told to go into our separate houses or groups according to our region where we came from, like Zang, Bawa, and Litang. But we said that we wanted to stay together because we were there to fight the Chinese and not be divided according to different regions. And we also said that if they didn't let us form our own group, then we were going to fight ourselves and form our own group and go to fight the Chinese.
And then?
담지 쪽에다 시다 경이 좀 무지겠던 제rum 좀 숨어져라. 디니일이야 다르잖아요. 땡동스는 다르잖아요. 계단은 지금 고진 수시가 땡동스이로. 근데는 진짜 간지 디디 소리 쉬어.
아, 네네. 디 경제 나르베.
저름 신게 간데 숨어져 나가려. 시다 경이 전부다 담지 쪽에.
오, 리.
다 가지고 제자 디소레쇼 가도 나로지 상 가도 말도 있지. 가지고 디케지. 땅 가도 되는 바 간데네 토인데 또 제대 디게 다 릴레이트 기게 되네 아니 남사이 무도가 니만 남사이 되네. 포로니 요네 배 포로디 딩니 디가. 디가 딩제데 지기가 지. 양직도 뭐 양직도 저 딩제 포로지 배 니만 인지 계속다 가서 배도 연습부터.
아니 다르디가라 딩제.
다르디가야 딩. 포로니.
So when we decided to march from Gaden, we needed a flag, but we didn't have one. So what we did was, His Holiness had given a flag or a banner for the two protective deities, and so we asked for that, and then we put those together and we carried those with us on our march. And as we went to Rong on our way, we came across two crows who came with us the entire way. So one crow would just sort of fly over the flag and the other would stay back a little bit, and then they would keep switching, and they followed us all the way to Rome.
It
was very amazing.
Very amazing.
It was very cold at the time, and the person who was carrying the flag, his hands were red because it was so cold, but he was so proud. He was very proud and held the flag up.
And how far was it to get to Rome? And excuse me, but where were they? They were coming from Lhasa to Rome?
From Gaden, they were going from Gaden to Rome.
To Rome. And Rome, and so when they said, you have to join your regions, and you said, no, we want to stay together, was that approved, and you did stay together?
And did you the Gandeni wrong for the Dodu? The Taring Lu Katse go race. Oh, it took us 4 days.
4 days to get there, to Rome.
Yes.
And then were you allowed to stay as a group?
Ani paleni tanda pala thengel sonswa khunjugi ani soso ruga da bena bawaina bawa those goose ine da thabadun jogi nganjo ngaran jo nyamdo degi so khunjugi da nyamdo dechu ruwas
dechu.
Oh, they let, yes, it was approved and they let us.
Da 제자 마 아니 다음에 도스티스 계란도 마가 밀 댄송 잘레마가 있어.
잘레마.
댄송 잘레마.
레세.
잡아다 레마미 있어. 댄송 잘레마. 맞지 디 제자 다르지 댄송 잘레마가 있어.
Oh, so they approved, and then they said, okay, now your group will be called the Voluntary Monks and Dalemaga, which actually basically means like Tra means monk and Hla means I guess the God or oh, so that's what they named our group.
Volunteer Monks and Gods. Good allies. And so there you were. And is this Ram place where all the Tibetans were gathering, including the Chushigandro?
The wrongs is that tanda mangmi changma zomsa derwe Chushigandro mangmi da changma zomsa.
Yela ji. Ah. Yela ji mo amadi bige Tibetan's there wa. Ah. De yela ji de sha.
It was not the main base, it was one of the branches. The main was in Jibutanga. The one in Rong was just one of the smaller branches. Yeah.
Please continue. Tell us what happens to your group and to you.
So they said that they needed about 60 clerks, and so they asked if any one of us knew how to read and write. And there were only about 4 of us who knew how to read and write, and we were assigned to different offices. And me and another friend of mine who was also a part of the same committee that I was in at the monastery, the 2 of us were assigned to the office that took care of all the wages for the soldiers.
Okay.
So they were assigned to different regions. Some of the monks were sent to Zedang because there was a big Chinese military base over there, and so the monks were assigned on the hilltops around that base. And there were some who were sent to another area.
And what happened to you? Next.
The DJ and Karchuma Sabah.
That DJ one. That DJ that Rome Pogan de ya, Zunzin Dilia, Shisu on dancing is the Tajagumba Hong Den da Tomajo, Tomajo sings in Yidu. Uncle Nijaje, but the sound is Da Mando Pa Unal Padogores, Unal Dogudutane Mari Timem da Lucuna. Turuji, Nanti Jurukunda. Kalesia so DJ Manzu Poga de or that in any part of Marode. That song is Karam Candelagis are juice, Candelagis in the Candegas. To move that Leguchi Jorva. They choose Tangapa Candechol Unal Pa Yunguis and the Tala Chat and Sambata Milas Ayag to get the teacher of his teacher Lava juice. Natang Suna Salanton, the Suchil love to Marcido. Any teacher, Tangachim. Lhasa.
So they sent me on this secret mission back to Gaden, and they told me to look for food for the soldiers and the animals and have everything ready because they were going to come to Lhasa. And so they sent me in advance, and it was supposed to be in secret and nobody was supposed to know. So they sent me back to Gaden, back to Lhasa.
Did you do it? Not to get to do it. Kade Taba Sama Mugema has a Molon Fisher. Molonson has a Angal has a matchim. Allo has a Maliko Gondan Alchim. Oh, Marie. The Allineal history of 50 days. That didn't Hogana to like them. That Una lives. The Takami Modelanga lives. Modelanga lives. Residents in the Malaysia. Tanga then to Lane to skip those younger. Residents that this is that. Then a machine that the Gesilia. Residents in village in each other. Not in my young even like I gave a cast of a little Mikawachi, Takawachi Tize, young do. Karango, what was it? Not Candel Runi. Takarama do Yalo. Marco Badogo used to live. For me, get to do it. Migatic Demi Merco do to this tank.
맞지? 안래.
아니 시에시에서 군저 좀 셈는데 뱀배 시에시에서 다 로로스도 은야로 근데 디부터 긴 시대로 하고 리스부터 시제네 근데 리스도 저 시대로 하면 미가부터 따도 매년 매위
맞지?
군저 숨부티
네.
근데 시에시에서 아니 되냐지 추딘마 추첨부도 대도 시대 좀 어디 딱이 있으면 내 공부친 짓도 항상 공부돼야지.
So I was riding from Loka to U because I was sent on that secret mission, and I was crossing the hills, and then finally I came to the road that the Chinese had made, and then I was coming on the road, and all of a sudden there was a white man on a white horse in front of me, and he asked me where I was going, and I said, I'm going to Gaden. And he said, no, you can't go to Gaden, you have to turn back now. And I kept insisting, and I said, no, I have to go to Gaden. And then he said, look over there, do you see that? And when I looked, there were Chinese tanks just pointing at me, and it just scared me so much, and I just decided that I had to turn back because there was no way I could have gone through that. And so I was very scared. I turned back, and then after I crossed that path and I came across that hill again, I looked back, and that white man was not there. He had disappeared.
It was a Western white man?
Yeah, dressed in white, not like a white man.
Oh. A Tibetan man dressed in white.
Yeah, a Tibetan man dressed in white on a white horse.
On a white horse.
Yes.
Wow, what do you think that was?
that ngat danishingi do mo to tem so di danishin da shin sam do di manju danda 지름지 숨문디 시다 기니 처모지 미가 봐 진짜 가 보시 주가 가 봐 진배 주가 가 보시 정말 가 보시.
So I just remembered this a year or two ago, and the Rinpoche's protective deity is actually a man dressed in white on a white horse, wearing a white hat.
He's going over to get me.
Yeah, just to check him out. And actually he was, after I turned back and I went a different way, I came across a small monastery as well. But that white man had just disappeared.
So, I'm sorry, who's protective deity?
Rinpoche's.
And Rinpoche is?
It's Tsongkhapa. Rinpoche is not Tsongkhapa's whatever. Tsongkhapa's protective deity. Tsongkhapa is...
Tsongkhapa
is the one who founded Gande. Tsongkhapa Gande Udunarwa. Yeah, Rinpoche.
He's the one who...
founded Gaden.
He founded Gaden.
Yeah.
And his protective deity was a person on a white horse?
Yes, dressed in white on a white horse.
And what is
it? It's called Shida Geni Chimbo.
Okay, thank you. And so he was J. Rinpoche's protective deity.
And when I was working at Gaden Monastery, remember I told you earlier that I was working for J. Rinpoche's house?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So then what happened?
다때네 샘참네 롬도 랭고 깨고로다 샘참네 아니 도가 간에 때도 아니 강보부터 아니 추교연수도 봤네 아니 강교 탁바교 근데 님은 지금 제일이야매 딱거리들이 중국도 딱거리디 탁바 간에 테마도 되네 얘다지 잘 같은 신기요 딱거리 텐신기요 아니 나 짝기 있는 말 교제 다른 무지 시된 자로 나가 피기 딱 변만도 예시도 가로 빠지지도 딱 거는 임베치는 나디 똑같이 말과 아니 가서 탈게 날지 마데 마셔디게 제단로 딸게 하디 따데 탈게 날로 인치미 봐 아, 진짜 다 랑가 종레를 추교세 작바죠 강교 테마도 따게 테마도 다 배자죠 강용지 타마르데 고다 님을 쉬무시 다가 재미에서 된다 갈래서
오
군저 스부제 다들 간도 깨라도 야도 지제로 아니 깨라도 만지지기 샤모도 전지기 아니 짝세마 보지 돈이 도숨 주지 탑도죠 아니 잡고 이제 되면 아니 미신다 되게 막 보지 딱 한다 재미가 그래 닌다 되게 안 돼. 근데 재미 숨리죠. 왜 괜찮나로 럭주에 매배스도 아니 얘기는데 저렇게 딱 그래 듣는데 박슈베 보지 미케다시 무슨 믹샤고 빼 균마동이지. 카테보 쉬우지 깨다요서 아 만드나 럭주비다 매다 만드 내고 돈이 해서 제가 돈이 그 보셔지 봐.
So when I came across that monastery, the small monastery, I found out that the Khenpo of that monastery was actually from my house in Ganten. So I stayed in that monastery for a day or two, but I was very nervous throughout because I knew I had to get that message because the army was going to march very soon and I had to arrange for everything. So I was very anxious as well, and I would just keep looking at the road every day. And then, and it was also winter, it was snowing, very cold. The river had frozen. And one day as I was looking from the monastery, from the balcony, I saw that there was a cart. It was trying to cross the river. It was frozen, so the horse was having a very hard time pulling the cart. And then my horse actually knows how to pull the cart over a frozen river. So I told the Khenpo that I needed to leave. So I took my horse, went down, and then went with those people because I thought if I was with them, the Chinese would be less suspicious of me. So I went with them. It was very hard though because the roads were all frozen over. It took us a lot of time to cross the river and cross the road. And when nightfall fell, we just ended up right in front of the Chinese. We were very scared, but we didn't have a choice. We had to stay there for the night. So, we camped. And we built a fire and we were sitting when 3 Chinese came and they asked, are there any splitists or anyone who was working against the Chinese? They asked us, and among us was one man. He was blind, and I later found out that he was also a very popular man, a very famous, I don't know why, but a lot of people seems to know him. And he said, oh, we don't have anyone over here that you want. We are just pilgrims and we are going to Lhasa. There's nobody over here.
결혼 가봐더니 막 간대 그 잡아 먹고지 로컬 침매밀 친요로 디데 메인베스도 다 상황에는 야고 좀 맞았어. 아승한 디데 인세. 나 다리 결혼 조록바 야고 전에 나 거진 치슈고지. 계시 로고 맞에 위스는 나 간대네 톰베님은 소를 당산교이. 각계 그 방법에 메시. 개인 결혼 lö교 낭다 주니면 같이 미니제도 보디.
This blind old man, he was very witty and very fast and also very smart. So as we were going, he kept asking me, where are you going? And I said Ganten. And then after a few minutes, he would ask again, where are you going? And I would say Ganten again. And then he said, oh, I heard that most of the monks from Ganten had gone down to Lhasa to fight, and aren't you one of them? And I thought that it's no point keeping it a secret, and so I said, yes, I am one of them. And I said, if you help me today, then I'll be grateful to you, but even if you don't help me, I don't mind, because the day I left Ganten, I had already decided that, my life is, I'd sort of sacrificed my life, and so I would have no regrets. But then he said, oh, you don't have to worry about anything.
Did that make you feel relieved as some kind of a fortune telling?
Really? Palatis didn't see this about this Loyando Jung as that this sympathist Lulu Kunangi, same day more soon.
Oh, Lulu Chas. Simon to Topa Sade do. Kora Topa Sanga, there was me do.
Yeah, I was relieved because otherwise he didn't trust me completely and I didn't know if I could trust him. So after everything was cleared, it was good and I was relieved.
That didn't get out of the Jadico. Another Jatung, part of said David. Young gave me some pompuchita, I gave me some leche. Well, can do not lock your mass, see do. Oh, Manduna lock your mass. People cut out and me cut, bow cut out what you do. Don't send out lunch over Mardas, can do. Langaji and other magic sacred dance. Sending you Mashano to Dosho Mardas.
Di Kadu, thanking you like Gamilero, Di Gonda de Ranja.
I have contact, take me never yon. Take me never yon. And the less has the chick, the name Yagalam the glass on, take me.
That same night, again, 3 more Chinese came and asked us, just came to check on us. And there was one officer who came with them, asking if there was anyone again involved in the movement. And then the old man said, no, there's nobody over here. And then the Chinese said, well, none of you can leave tonight. If you try to leave, then we'll just shoot you and kill you.
That is a Namla. Talam did a Mantu Jimdolia, Congo music, Doti Gava Kid,
Congo,
to go to the Congo, Kushu to the Gondinet, and the Dogana Tabia to go. That's an issue of Naviala. Yet I did Mother Marshall to get Lojo, coaches which come as near to us. I get a ginger, give me the lodging because of the Timero Yingo, get a ginger kitchen, and I can leave my chamber. That the name has a switch to. The Zulu Tartaka, get out the Yato, Tadi Mother Marshall switch down and touch it and touch it.
So the next morning when we were leaving, there was one person in our group who was from Kongpo, and so I asked him to take my horse and go a little bit in advance, and I put my chupa down and acted like as if I was a woman, and then I followed a little later, and then once we crossed the hill, I pulled my chupa up and got on the horse and I left.
Great. And then where did you go?
That didn't Taran didn't chick Konda Namji till Yanalis, Amayasa. Namju Kandanal can be taken. And can be matters on that. Sigbek and Yaja Toka Yaji, the Kemi do to do.
Then
And not Godum. Godum many. Amala, where swimmers. I said, Puyi Bear, I smooth the Nija, Amala, Amala Ladia, Hakugo, Kovachi Magician Giamara. Puyi Bear said the Nija, I smooth the Yala. Any. But he quashing but can't undergo. One can let you do on a leg at Chimichi. You can do coach Chilo coaching in the Yom the Jango Shuju. Kuchi Amala and the King Yoma, I can't come in soon to Nala. My yoga, the Yoma Pomudi, did love so much. I think I'm a back and they get Legachimbe to keep out of the season and to save him. And Amala there's a little chance.
So by nightfall, I reached home. Usually there are some Chinese who live in our house, so I was trying to be careful. I jumped over the wall and then I knocked on the door, but fortunately there were no Chinese. And then as I knocked on the door, my mom was like, "Who's there?" I said, "It's me." And then my mom started crying right away because she did not know where I had been. She didn't know where I was. And she asked me where I had been, and I said, "Oh, I went on some work from the monastery." I didn't tell her what I had been doing because at the time we had this girl servant at home, and she told me in advance that my mother doesn't know anything, and she told me to be careful and not to tell her everything. And so, yeah, I didn't tell her what I had actually been doing.
다 간대제수 무게 여러와 간대제수 군들 자제네 나도 스타리 로고네 용병이 된소 달라마가 땅소 아니 라신다 다지 달차자 되게 저리나로는 소용구이 의초를 소용구이 세기도 랜디게 깨려임바. 인더면서 인더면서도 다들 제수 부부 연애라스니시 다 연애라스니시 제수 부부지 로바 로산스린라스니시 부부니 스타치 부부랑 체르티니라. 되네 아니 참주 시행아 주요. 한국랑 존재소 디살 쉬우임바.
알레 콘솔레설이요.
콘솔레설 몰론 속아대고.
So at the time, all the monks from Gaden were in Lhasa because there was Milam. So I went down to Lhasa and met the head of the Gaden Monastery and told them that the army is going to march up, and so we had to arrange food for all the soldiers and for the horses. And they said yes, they will.
Okay, good.
또 지난 회사 말에 연가 전부를 당한주 대신 종질인 제주 지기요를 뒤 중이 제제처럼 대신이야 교수도.
So they told me not to stay in Lhasa because it was dangerous for me, and so at the time there was in Dechen zone they were transferring the administration, were changing hands, so they told me to go and work there as a clerk at Dechen zone.
다 디제제 다 디진 정도 질린 제주 제가 되잖아요. 댄스 때 시가 충분 댄스 때도 안 디질린 제주 제가 되도 녀대야 디슈고도 제 보랑 기던다 더블 줘봐. 디루 페냐 루무 줘래. 디루무도 대내요래. 디제제 간데다 구다디게 클라디게 피기도. 다 되는마 공모다 미셰디게 장주도 부부다 캠비스 고도다 아니 네가 쇼고로 가. 당함비 고여지는데 남딱 도시도시 들어가 봐게. 나 고여지대. 사대 패스 왜? 사직 패제. 야쇼시. 네 고지만 들지도. 네 저로 때문에 저로는 숨이도 아 kenza 가리는 나도 나와도 매 볼까게. 네 바바미 신기요만 아 그것도. 근데 지금 라이고고 비니스도 밑바다스도. 고지글수면 공에 달리죠. 그런 얘기조시도 잘나게. 찡찡이 매네. 그 요거 갖다 시키셨어. 그 갖다 넣으면 나 너무 스트레스. 이 말에서 갖다 진짜 야가리 키스 아시스트레스. 아시트 부부를 일단 주도하시죠. 디나 깨려요. 채도 튼. 레드 가와요. 채도 튼스.
안래.
군주 숨부기 하디.
네스.
진짜도다 저 아메 밤에 신나와 봐봐요 진짜 어디 어디 됐어도
대진 zon으로 봐
대진 사대 배서 댄스 대진 기다 그래
So at the time in Dechen, which is very close to Dechen where I was working as a clerk, there was an oracle, and I went over there, and there were a lot of Dalai Lamas, Kempos, everybody was seated, and there was the oracle, and I was sitting at the very end of the line, and then all of a sudden the oracle started gesturing at me and asking me and just sort of signing me to come inside and not stand at the door. I didn't know that, she was talking to me because I was just a nobody and nobody knew where I was, and so I was just standing there, and then the oracle's assistant came to me and asked me to come inside. So I went inside, and the oracle asked the assistant to get a kata, and he gave her like a dirty one, but she said no, give me a clean one. So he gave her a nice good kata, and then she rubbed it and made a knot, and then handed the kata to me and told me to leave right away.
What did you think that meant?
Kari nasa didi dinde lamurwa.
lamudi lusugo lumu
Lumusuwa.
lama
Dinde nejong dogro ende la shunge.
ha hingediri
Ani didi da khada di palala khada shterwa. Khada te ani ma thung yusu didi kari china.
chet du led ka yisi led ka yi chet tasi do
Di kari chin chinas.
ta kong mi shen ta mi shen ro shen jen ta 도스기스로 야 뭐지미지 때는 게 미주야 되는 인가 유지로 봐.
I think she knew that if I had stayed, maybe the Chinese would have captured me, so she told me to leave right away.
So, I'm sorry, what place were we in at that point?
So I was working as a clerk at Dechen District, but this particular incident took place at Den, which is very close to Dechen District.
Okay. Could you tell us when you go to Loka from here and what you saw happen in Loka?
Okay. The kunzo tuzu shira mindu sarwa bala su jungil samsha wa jela kunzo interview shimbaji yorwa ta ine mona yan di changma yang mi ke chimbu du yang pe de chenyi jung mindu sarwa ta dine ni ani ta bala local pa pherwa ya local pa lo chin ro ani man local pa lo chin ani khar chin na sa local
다 local pa lo chin ta nge dige report dige te ro ta 정말 저다 봉대승이 지나게 군인이 법원인이 다 군이 이제 땅만도 뒤치듯 뭐 어디 땅아 니 은혜 사선에 사서 초는 주 로가 소리 거로 내가 리도 사서면 다 땡스여도 니 팅에 등한들 세포랑 geblo mon mental 가지 침다 니 바살라디 체셔 제셔 당에
케말 발순저
되네 단다 간델레지 멘탈랭가 도그리스 딩을 다 딩메데 멘탈랭가 도그리 아니 샤즈네 개지지 도그리 장진의 결혼 교수도 얼얼스 단지 잡에 오바 있는 잡아 당수를 lep셔 잡아 오는 양가 전부 쉬어도 럽자고 수럽자고 저당고 자고 탐람으로 가서 숨도 그냥 니들만나 대신을 탈까 딱 그리 મં구요래 아니 대신배 류상말로 레슨내고 오고요래 제가 니들 인도전에 탈게 날아야 보레 계획이 키실러 보레 시마틴 디날 메다샤 디간 보레 계 시급 디간 류루제 요문이 개미하고 말했어 다가르스는 레선신가 삼바된 거로 봐 삼바동이 개미요래 근데 전에 야구도 다 어디 야구도 다 가라는 짓은 디제제 땅마다 gen지지스니디 뭐니 아니 난간나려야 난간 그 류디가 랑부지 랑가지다 랑부지다스들이 랑지
랑부지 알레
랑지다스들이 랑지 그 류여가 류디가 꼭 안루치졌어요 아니 가대 팀이 이만 전에 마음에다마 디지지제 연주질이야 ningu yo야 요질이야 팀이슬레제니 다디베 배송급에 디데 terginal 멘다고 있는 갱수이고 말이 랭게 잡았다는 말도 되게 말이 송고도 다요 말이 수도마다 아때디도 양 카톡자를 레스 만주 키는 게 맞으다 잡아디게 송가 수일링 그래서 잡아 가슬링 갔다 뭐 수용가 수일링 그래서 미투미다 제경이 저거 뭐 다디네 동발로지
맨날 말아봐
맨날 하면서 동발로지 다 동발로 진짜 되게 되네 땅 아샤자 심으로 와 아멘데 때문에 잡을랭가 동에 숨고지 제가 잡을랭가 다나도가 아는 간데네 다 진짜 로가 봐도 임비바 로가레니 다 딩에 되지 보드게 되지 다다다스 다만도 되게 포장이야 다 레고 아마도 포장스 되지 연우나 다양한도 연우치 지도던데 다 뒤에 겹주는 고추사서 다 간데들 했어봐네 다 디제제 말이 디 공대 알리 말이 지고 다 디제 로가는 소리 로가래 되네 다 론두가 되지 전에 나 론두고네 미디게 돼야 겹주 연결로야 디 이게 락제 연은 안 좋게 녀스 미디게 돼 락제 연결 미디게 가스 락제 맹게디게 단스 까디 단송아 아는 가서 디 슈카데야 두디 카데 되지 이게 되냐 디가 다디지도 전에 다디게 지체 드네 딜레스 바시지존라다 세준대강 단다디 이시터진라 군인이 이제 요거 실행하듯이 맨날 베링겐시 아니 이지커도 무슨 시키게레스 안 콘도 대고로 슬러송아 맨날 요러 계란도 콜라유도 가스라 요러 대고로 쓰디 만도 대금이스 만도 자오름지 페피도니 만도 누구이스
아니 땅은 빨리 다다스 디주도서 주도도서 투주민도서와 아니 당고 다다가 빨리 주변에 뭐란 디주라 기주치 아니 제랑은 또 주도이사
Lari.
So what happened is I had to go back to Loga. But before that, we were told that some monks from Gaden would have to come to Lhasa to get some of the guns, and they wanted monks to come and get it, but we thought it wouldn't be very safe for the monks. So I thought, since all the farmers from the Dechen zone got their manure from Lhasa, I said that maybe we can sort of smuggle the guns with the manure on the food carts. But the representative said, no, that's not very safe. And so they wanted the monks. But in the end, we didn't get any guns. And so I went back to Loga. And then at the time when I got back to Loga, so the refugees had started coming. People from Lhasa were trying to go to exile. And then we were told that people who had guns were to be kept behind so that they can fight, and those who didn't have any guns or weapons, we were supposed to let them go. And so I was assigned that duty. And
Which duty? To let them go?
yeah, to let the people without the guns go, and then we had that notices that we were supposed to give to people, and I was given that duty to give that notice. Yeah.
Difficult duty.
Lenge chimbo ro asa de ba.
Difficult.
the 공무 버시 생겼는데 배송 구다르바. 버시 지종라 요 대상 세주나 좀더 송구도와. 이 대전라 생겼는데 능식님만 중심제下선. 군조라서 개도와. 다 제자만 니녀상 슈가 로가도 그랬어. 군조 디데시도 땅고를 땅고 말했어. 양하당 수대 로가디 연ung 가자서 promotion 때 가사로 올. 청주 promotion. 청주를 단송아. 청주도 되는 능식 갈은 웅디도지라 마칼로 전날에도 약칼로 중일이셔. 그니 어두라면서니 법인데 공무를 딱 미체들이셔. 아는 가도스다 달래서 쇼샤. 아는 근데 공원이 도스제 배패서 땅로지스기도 땅고라 말에 가르쳐 그랬어. 슈가 용민이 제 아저저저저 야야 조마마조 다들이면지 공원이 남세링자를 뒀어. 남세링자 신수. 되네 조용제 다 되기도스. 아마 이그립고 다 저랑 동을 흘려제 되었어도. 나 내가 믿고 있어. 대지가 조용제 대당 강부는 나 mer교 숨을 시려 쉬수. 군조거리 mer교 샤면서 모두 쉬수다. 제메길 쉬다. 계속 걸어지 미 개면서 mer교. 어디제 안에 강하다가 건다다가 발로지.
So at the time when I was assigned to this duty to keep back the people who had weapons and then let the people without weapons go, there were two noble men, from noble families from Lhasa who came with weapons. And when I told them that they had to stay back, they said no, they were going to India with the Dalai Lama. And so I had to go back to Loka again and ask if I could let them go or not.
다 돌지제 쇼야. 다 되네 가지고 보관지 다 울파로 그랬지. 다 텀빙 편해.
No.
저거는 다 원세들렸어.
Listen.
원세들야 사체비치비 질려서네. 남지질이야 띵나 겸일래서 띵나 겸일래서 미마게 저기도 주는 박박게 저는 저도 아는 것도 맞아 드디제. 근데 사자간 사자 심게네. 내 마가지도 드디 가래사지 막쇼직도 아 네가 맞아 보관시 맞냐는데 말대 안타게 쪼쪼 제제배 아 네가 드디 공무 디 단다디 가자 님 민지 군저선 공원이 된다 땅 마다세 디 콜라디 브링겐 가테서 공원 좀 브링겐 기기도 된다 브링겐 가 기기와 안다 사다다 아다 데링게 지제 알서 주도지다 숨시다 깨라든지 돈이 숨다 다 들어가지 나 이게 도도지 간데 집이 모든 맞게다 정말 주두고 정말 좀 이거 만도 그냥 가가지고 어다 지금 말이지 제가 딱 간다 콜로 좀 매외들로 말하지 생각 중에 미만 주주로 봐 생각 가셔 이봐 가셔 뭐마 주 어니 하마고 게 주요 말마 좀 매디 생각이 제가 생각 담아 이게 개미 매겨주 개미 매겨지도 세두스나 가서 멘타 그때 진짜 한다 아니 매겨 멘타 그냥 카사지는 네가데 매겨 숨쉬마 또 잡아버려 미매기도 세기도 비주도 다시 Anything big Ningu Chuju Sumbasbudo Katus, the Nangas Berry.
That is such a quareba. So we left Lhasa and got to a place called Hum. It was a small village called Hum. And then early in the morning we heard these the villagers screaming and shouting that the Chinese are coming, the Chinese are coming. So we took a position and we had some weapons. I had one gun from one of those noble families that was left behind. And so I had that and I got ready, prepared. And I was on a hilltop and the Chinese were going to march in the valley. And all of us were ready, but we had no military training and we didn't know what we were doing. And so we were able to stop the Chinese army till about 3, but after that we couldn't stop them anymore. And they had tanks and cannons and our guns were nothing in front of those.
And so what happened to you?
And the jail palala hachi.
Ta dination and Mimangsa Penisha. Anim Pigeon Loka Pigeon Dozon Shona Shosha see to Zedan Shona Shosha see to Kasakan Shon Gemidu staying with to staying be. That didn't do Sansam Lesson.
So everybody, we couldn't stop the Chinese anymore, and then we heard reports from the other villages that everybody was just running now.
Sansamlaya Nima Dure Jikaso, and the Caridandal Cabre citizen, Takashun Kayo Maris, Tangamaris. Then Nimaji, Tacharan Dochorus, Dalai Lama, the little papers, Tacharan Dochorus, Neroda Jejum, Tatusi. And Hina Dawson, he Tangamidu Daja, Tangamidu.
So we finally reached the border. And we were stopped there for about 7 days, though, for a week, and we were not allowed to enter India. We were stopped. And then one day, all of a sudden, they said, oh, you can enter India now because the Dalai Lama has reached Delhi and he has met with Nehru, and so you can now enter India.
How did that feel to be leaving Tibet?
Kenza Shudu, Da Kala Saya Sarava. Anna Bernie in the Zenia, Niel Nere Judici, young Yapinjago to do Malin, young Yahango to Polio, Chungregis, Yahango to Kohango to Kunsha, the reg teaching go, Chiyunga Puma tea, Tindisco, Larry Hango tea, go Larry getting Menta only the Hango Yoman to Koyamindu. And the Trogon Mancha talk about the Kala Kandis, Masu Jago, Kala Susu, Sogore, Kala Sonja Meva, Pea, the yard to the Jig Pepsi, Yomar, Majida Bombelli in the Kilosum Samadu. Jigo.
So we had not eaten for many days because we were running, we were fighting, so there was no time to cook and eat, so we hadn't eaten for many days. And then I didn't even have proper shoes because the shoes I had given to my brother who had also joined the army, and so I had this thin, very thin-soled shoes, and every time I took a step, the soles would come off. And so when I finally reached Tawang, I only had, my shoes didn't have any soles left. And then when I reached Mumbai, I weighed only about 30 kilos because I hadn't eaten for days.
Well, your shoes were thin, but your spirit was strong.
Pala ya hango ti de minde pe tap tap yone pala susu ge sema the same shoe yorwa.
Pala, thank you for this wonderful and very important account of your life story and the story of Tibet. We are deeply appreciate your sharing it with us.
Pala ita pala susu logyu ta susu ge thum da susu ge nyamnyo da ani phe logyu de por ta ngajung nyam do shewa de la ni pe masi thoche nas ra andi pe masi ke chumbure thoche nas
thoche na kenan ngaju pe dendal ya volunteer chi chale digas na de nya pha thoche na shu ge sung.
I want to thank you for everything you are doing for Tibet and for volunteering and working for this cause. Thank you very much.
It is.
딱 안쪽 나란도 된다를 쉐고야 더 제고야 이거 뭔지 제고야 계신 거로. 캐나도 volunteer 디가 나 빼야 원해서 도저는.
It is our cause. We should work for it because it's a Tibetan cause, but you are volunteering and working for us.
Well, we are learning a lot from the Tibetans, especially about the Dharma and the courage of practicing the Dharma as Tibetans.
nganzo ye pheba dun zu tamni pe masi mangbu jangya dos ro nangju gi thone ne na ta de ngaranzo ye pe mangbu ta shi ya mangbu dos jangya mangbu dos.
That's it.